Hello. What's up, guys? Thank you for joining. I see a couple more of you joining now. Awesome. Hey. So before we get started, I just want to talk to some of the people that maybe watched our video last time. I want to see a count of how many masks you've donated since then. So if you want to like start chatting and letting me know kind of how many you've donated so far, since we haven't been keeping track. Hey guys. So throughout the class, a couple of things just I want to go ahead and talk about. So the first thing is Chloe is going to be on the chat. She is our manager here at the Sewing Center. So she'll be answering any questions that you guys have during the class. So if you are, there she is. Hello, Chloe. So if you guys do have any questions along the way, feel free to ask her because I'll get kind of into it and be sewing and maybe I won't see your questions, but she is here to answer your questions so you guys can rely on her answers the best because she has all the information. So the first thing I want to talk about is some of the masks that we're going to be working on. So last time that we had the class, we made this mask. Last time we actually had a zigzag stitch for the pipe cleaner, but this is a new version. And it actually has a casing for the pipe cleaner so that it can be washed, the pipe cleaner won't come apart, and it's also secure and doesn't poke your face. So this is the first one, and it's the same measurements. It's 6 by 9 inches, two different cotton rectangles, and then the elastic is something new that I want to talk about as well. So one of the things about the elastic that we've been using in the past was 7 inches. So 7 inches is a little bit big on the face for some people that have a smaller face. So there is a little bit of a range now. The CDC is saying 6 inches for elastic. So you can do between 6 and 7 inches. However, if you are donating to a hospital, I would recommend that you go along with whatever recommendations they have, particularly for that hospital. So whoever you're contacting through our contact list, you can ask them ahead of time, or if you're going through an organization, they will let you know specifically, this is the measurements, this is the measurement of the elastic. However, if you're making it for friends and family, I would say a 6 1/4 if the elastic is really stretchy. Hey guys, so 6 1/4 for the elastic for a small face. I usually do 6 1/2 for medium, and I'll do a 7 for a larger face. All right, so this is the first one. And if you're just joining, we're gonna be talking about how to insert a pipe cleaner. I'm not gonna go through the steps of this one since we do have another video, but I will be showing you on a couple of the other ones how to do the pipe cleaner, which that's the only difference that we have this time. The other thing that is different is I have a contrasting fabric on the back. So when we were first getting started, we just did the same fabric on both sides. And one of the things that can be very confusing when someone is, on the front lines wearing this, they need to know which side is exposed and which side is on their face. So you want to make sure that you're using a different color for the inside, or maybe if you don't have a separate fabric, what you can do is just flip the fabric to the wrong side and have it facing your face. So that's really important. So let me just go through some of these masks that we're going to be making. So the first one this is a men's mask that I made for my husband, and basically a couple of things. So let's say that you have been making the masks at 7 inches, or for him, I knew he had a bigger face, so I actually did 7 1/2. But then after he put the mask on, I realized it was a little big. And one of the things that the CDC actually has on their instruction guide is that you can actually attach the elastic and tie a knot to make it tighter. So what you can do, I just looped this one and tied it a little tighter, and then I pulled the loop as far as I could to the edge to make it a little bit more snug, because you definitely do want to have the face mask actually fitting your face and not being loose on the sides. So that's one way that you can alter a mask after you've already made it. And then for this one, I actually put a filter inside that can be removed, which is also something the CDC has on their website as well, is how to add a coffee filter. So I'm actually using like surgical mask material. Right when this was all starting, I actually found a fabric store that had some of this, so I have like a couple of yards of it. I just doubled mine up and cut it into I think this is like 3 1/2 by 5, maybe 3 1/2 by 4 inches. And it just goes right inside this pocket. so that then you can use it for a little bit more protection, and it actually just goes right in here, and then you can take it out when you wash it and replace it. Like I said, if you don't have the filter material or surgical mask material, what you can use is a coffee filter. You can just cut it into that, like a halfway point, and cut it around so that it goes right into the mouth. That's also a good idea if you're using, like maybe you are scrambling around your house to find some fabric and you don't have 100% cotton. That would be helpful if you're using something like a knit on the outside, which this is a knit, and then I have the 100% cotton on the back, and I wanted to make sure that it was like a protective mask, and it also has the fitted elements to it. Okay, so that's the second option that we're going to be talking about. The third option is also on the CDC website, and this is, I'm actually going to put this one on because this one is mine. So you can actually just put it over your ears here. And then it actually just and then you can tie it as tight as you want. I'm not sure if I'm muffled now, but you can tie it as tight as you want, and as you can see, it doesn't have anything coming in on the sides. I really like this one. I think I actually prefer the ties for the overall fit of all of these. I prefer the ties. I just used a drawstring. Thanks, Chloe. Yeah, so this drawstring is actually just a cotton drawstring. And Chloe, could you let everybody know what they could how they could order this on Amazon? I think it's just called cotton rope. But this is just a cotton rope. It was easier for me to use something that I already had instead of trying to make my own binding to create that. However, if you are going to be sending it to a hospital, I think the best way is to follow the guidelines of whatever hospital you're working with or organization. So they might have a pattern that they're using where you might be making the string. But for this one, like I said, I used the rope that I had, and it also has a polka dot white lining on the back, so I know which side is the front. So that's the other option. And lastly, so there might be some of you that are joining that don't have a sewing machine, have never done any sewing in their life, and I'm going to be teaching a very easy, I see a couple of people saying yes. So I'm going to be doing a couple of easy ways that you can use a t-shirt and just cut the material, and it actually creates a fitted mask that you can tie around your face. So this is for anybody, basically the CDC wants everybody to be wearing a mask, a protective mask when you're out. So these are giving variations for anybody to make a mask for themselves, for friends, for family. And then in addition, I'm going to be talking about how we are actually distributing these to hospitals. As you know, the last class that we had, we have gone crazy with views for the videos, and we've gotten so many people involved. So we are just trying our hardest to get all the hospitals in New York and everywhere to try to get as many masks as they can. A lot of times, one other thing that I do want to mention is some of the hospitals or organizations that you're working with, they're actually sending these to go over the N95 masks. So they do need to be a little bit bigger with that 7-inch actual elastic to protect the mask, because they're only given one mask to reuse. So some of the hospitals and organizations we're working with is actually to protect that mask. And then in addition, these are for hospitals where maybe they, nurses aren't wearing any, and also organizations that need them as well, something protective. Okay, for the filter, can you use lightweight interface? I'm actually not sure about that. Honestly, it seems like that would work for me, but I'm not sure about the CDC guidelines for that. I know they were recommending on their website a coffee filter. So also pre-shrinking fabric. So one of the organizations we're working with, which I'll be talking about soon, is AlterNew. They have started what's called the Nyc Mask Initiative, and they are helping distribute these masks. So it's very cool. They have drop-off locations all over New York, all over Brooklyn. So instead of like what we've been doing on our website is going to the hospital contact name, calling them, emailing them, finding out how we can distribute them, and then coordinating with them and lift. However, AlterNew has actually started kind of setting up these bins where you can drop off your mask, your finished mask, after you hit 25 and like as a number, and then they will distribute for you. So that's also something that we'll be talking about a little later. As far as pre-washing, you do want to pre-wash all of your materials before you start cutting so they don't shrink. And if you haven't, then you might want to just cut it half an inch bigger so that like on each side, so that if it does shrink, it will shrink probably about a half an inch everywhere. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So I'm just gonna be talking about a couple of the supplies that we're gonna need today. So I'm gonna be using some clips for clipping the material. There's kind of like a lot of chat about should we use pins on these, should we use clips? I think the clips are really helpful for putting in the pipe cleaner, which is another thing that you're gonna be needing is some pipe cleaner. So I find these really helpful for that. You're also gonna need scissors. I always use 2 pairs, one for clipping off all the little threads and one for clipping my fabric. I use tailor's chalk. This is really helpful when marking and it comes off. The other couple of things you're gonna need a seam ripper in case you make a mistake, which hopefully we won't make any mistakes tonight. I do not have a safety pin at my apartment. I have them at the sewing center, but I couldn't find one. So I'm gonna be showing you how you can use a bobby pin. You can actually use a small one or a large one to thread your drawstring through the casing. And then you're gonna also need some quilter's pins and elastic. This is a hot commodity these days, but so this is a 1/4 inch wide, but you can also use an 1/8 of an inch. And then a ruler. A clear ruler is always helpful. All right, so I'm not gonna be cutting out my fabric tonight because I find it to be a little too much time for people that are already ready to go. So one of the things I wanna talk about first, and you guys can start cutting as I'm chatting. So the first mask that I'm gonna be making is the drawstring mask. And the measurements for this one is going to be 10 by 6, so 10 inches by 6 inches. I actually made mine 10.5 by 6 inches because the rope was so thick. So if you have a thin, like an 1/8 of an inch wide elastic that you're gonna be using, and this is also, you can also use elastic for this variation of the mask. So like I said, I used mine 10.5 by 6 inches, and then you can use your elastic can be between 6 and 7 inches for the ear. If you want, what you could do is just make it 7 or 7.5, and then you could tie it like I was showing earlier. And then you're gonna need 60 inches of drawstring or rope for the tie that's gonna go around your head. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started with this one, and then we'll move on to our filter mask. All right. All right, can everybody see okay? All right. I just saw a question about 3/8 inch elastic. If you're using a bigger elastic, you can always cut it down. All right, so the first step here, I just wanna make sure it's not too bright. There we go. All right. So the first step that we're gonna do is I'm actually going to be making, normally you're gonna put your right sides together on the fabric, but for this one, you're actually going to be putting your wrong sides together because we're not gonna be turning it inside out. So I'm just going to line these up. Trying to see if you guys can see, that's a better view. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to add a couple of pins here to line this up evenly first. So the first step is we're just gonna stitch this all the way around to make it almost as if it was just one piece of fabric. All right, so I have mine pinned, and now I'm just gonna make sure I'm on a regular straight stitch and I'm going to be on a between a 2 and a 3 inch stitch width. So that's my stitch width here. I'm going to be on A, which is a straight stitch, and I'm going to be in between a 2 and a 3 up here, which is going to be the location of my needle. All right, so I'm just going to start stitching here, and I'm just going to be connecting my fabric all the way around. I'm going to pivot here. I'm using a very small seam allowance, probably about 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to take out my pins as I get to them. Got a pipe cleaner hanging out. All right. And I'm just going to back stitch at the end. All right, so now I have one side that has it facing the right side of the material, and then I have the right side facing out on this side as well. So the measurements for this one I'm using is 10.5 by 6 because I'm going to be making a larger casing. But if you wanted to, you could use 10 by 6. That's what the CDC has on their website. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fold over the top edge and the bottom edge to create a hem. So to do that, we are just going to flip this up 1/4 of an inch. And you can use your ruler to help you, just to make sure that you're not going too much. And I'm just going to use a couple of pins to secure that in place. To see if the lighting's okay. I've got like every type of lamp on around me that I can find. All right, here we go. Okay, so now I'm going to be zigzagging the edge here so that it's nice and secure, and also that it will prevent it from fraying since we're not going to be turning this one to the opposite side. So to create a really great zigzag for this, I'm going to go ahead and switch this over to a 5. I'm going to be on C, and then I'm going to be between a 2 and a 3 here. I'm going to back stitch at the beginning, and I'm just making sure that the needle is going right over that edge. It's called an over the edge stitch. Stitching at the end here. All right, so I just created this nice little zigzag stitch. You can see it here. It's like clean, and it also protects the edge from fraying anymore. I'm going to go ahead and do the opposite side now. I'm going to actually eyeball this because I have been sewing for so long. There's kind of like at a certain point you just kind of memorize these measurements that you use all the time. You can kind of see it. So I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm sure that's what like cooks say too, when they're like, just throw a half a cup in there. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. All right, and then I'm going to do this edge. So now I have both edges folded over like that. And now we're going to be creating the casing on the side. So for the casing, I made mine 3/4 of an inch wide so that I can fit the rope in, but you can actually make it 1/2 inch wide. That's what the first measurement had asked for on the website. So I'm just gonna make this 3/4 of an inch. And I'm going to pin it, and I'm gonna do the same thing here with the zigzag to protect the edge. Is everybody following along okay? I see a bunch of you here tonight, so thank you guys for joining. Also, thank you guys so much for sending all of your masks, donating. It's amazing how many people have gotten these, and I really appreciate it. So, and everybody does. So thanks for doing what you're doing, and us all getting together, being together right now and helping each other out. All right, so 3/4. All right. Okay, so now I have one side done. I'm gonna do the other side. So now I have, this is what it looks like. I have this zigzag down right near the edge, so it's nice and clean. I have this folded with a casing, so it's got an opening right here, with it zigzag down here as well, so it's nice and clean, and the same here. So that is actually it for this mask, minus the threading the drawstring through. So let me go ahead and show you how to do that. So I'm going to be using some rope, and I'm also going to be using my handy little bobby pin, since I do not have a safety pin here, which is really surprising that I don't have one at my house. Don't judge me, guys. I do all of the sewing at the sewing center. All right, but not anymore. Okay, so I'm just going to take this like this, and I'm going to feed it through here. All right, then I'm gonna take off the bobby pin here. And again, this is 60 inches wide, or sorry, lengthwise, it's 60 inches in length. So after you have it pulled through one side, I'm actually gonna be creating, like, it's gonna be going like this through the opposite side. So now I need to take my safety pin or my bobby pin and hook it onto the opposite side. All right, so now it's like this. And then you can kind of create the gathers on this piece. So it's nice and gathered, and then you just put it like that and tie it around the back of your neck. And that's it. I kind of made mine extra long in length. I think you could get away with making it a little bit shorter than 60. I would say 50 is fine. I always hate having not enough thread to or not enough string to actually tie something. But like I said, the hospitals and everybody that you are working with can give you some different sizes, but this fits really snug around the face. I really like it. One of the things I didn't do for this one is I did not add the pipe cleaner, but you could also add the pipe cleaner. And what you would do is before you do this one, this hem, you would put the pipe cleaner in, fold the fabric over, and zigzag right next to the edge. So you might need to make it a little bit bigger to do that. Like I said, this one's pretty tight fitting, but I don't see why it wouldn't be great to have the pipe cleaner in there. If you wanted to add one after you've made it, like I did, you can just add one like this, because this is clearly going to be the back side. So what you can do is just add it right here. And I'm just going to move this out of the way. And I'm just gonna do mine majority of the length of the top, like that. And I'm just gonna do another zigzag stitch going over this. I'm gonna make my stitches a little bit wider, so it goes right over the pipe cleaner. I'm gonna do a bunch of back stitches over the edge so it doesn't poke in the face. And like I said, that would just be like something extra, and that gives you the ability to conform a little bit better to your face. All right, so that's the first one. And if you guys have any questions about the dimensions or anything like that, we're gonna be putting them in our story as well. So you'll have that, and then you can also email us at the Sewing Center, and we can give you all the information that way, and we'll also have it on our website. Okay, so that's the first option. The next one we're going to be doing is the filter. So the measurements for the filter mask is 9 by 4.5 for the back two pieces. So that is like these little mini pieces here. These are 9 by 4.5, and you need 2 of them. And then we're going to be doing one on the front that is 9 by 7. So just one 9 by 7, 2 9 by 4.5. All right, so the first step we're going to do is just hem the bottom edge of each one of these. So you're going to actually just do it 1/2 inch. And what I want you to do again on this one is, just like we did the zigzag stitch along the edge to protect it, we're going to be doing the same thing here. So I'm just going to be going like this, and I just want to double check that I am doing 1/2 inch. And like I said, you can use a ruler, you can make sure that you're hitting it exactly right. If you aren't if you aren't sewing all the time, I would definitely say make sure you're measuring maybe more than I am. But I kind of have an eye for it at this point. There we go. All right, so C, zigzag, I'm gonna put it back between the 2 and a 3 here. How many of you are sewing right now? So that's the first hem of this one. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here on my second piece. You could also iron this. That might be very helpful too if you are new to sewing, or if this is something you're not usually doing. Probably should move my ruler. my back stitch here. All right, so this is the second piece. All right, and now I'm just going to be lining these up like you do on the first variation that we did a couple of weeks ago. Yes, we are on YouTube as well. I see somebody asking about the YouTube. I'll be putting it on YouTube as well, all the measurements and everything. All right, so this is our first one. I'm going to go ahead and face this right side facing me, like this. And then I'm going to take and face the wrong side, facing out, so the right side together. So that when I flip it around, it's going to be on the right side. All right, so I'm using elastic for this one, and it's going to be, I'm doing a 6 1/4 just because I like that size. But like I said, you can go all the way up to 7. I think CDC is recommending 6 inches for this. All right, so the first step here, let me just move this a little bit better. Okay, so I have everything lined up here, and I'm going to go ahead and add one elastic piece inside like this. And I'm just going to make sure that the elastic is right in the corner, and I'm going to pin it here. You can also use a clip if that's better. I think I'm just used to using pins on everything, but whatever works. You know, there have been some people that have mentioned that clips are better because of the holes in the fabric, but you know, if you are going to be having these sanitized at a hospital, then pins are fine. But if they're not going to be and these are going directly to somebody, I would say use the clips. But everything should be washed after these are made. No one should be putting these on without them being either washed or sterilized in some way. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and pin a couple more times. So as you can see, I'm only attaching the elastic here and here for now, because sometimes when your elastic is less than 7 inches, it kind of has to stretch to come down, so I want to make sure that it doesn't move around. So I'm going to be doing 1/4 inch. Oops, I still have it on zigzag. Make sure you pop it back to regular stitch. You're going to just stitch right over this area. And then when I get close to here, I'm actually going to find that elastic piece. And now that it's attached to the other piece, I'm just going to pull it down. I'm making it look confusing, but it's actually really not. It should just be pretty simple. There we go, okay. So now I'm going to pull it down. It's actually gonna pull a little bit on the top, which is okay. You just wanna make sure that the elastic isn't getting touched by the needle so that it doesn't accidentally secure it too early. And I'm gonna do a turn here. So one nice thing about this this style is you don't have to leave an opening because you already have an opening. So when you're turning it and everything like that, it becomes a little bit easier because you just stitch all the way around. And I have my elastic already pinned over here. I'm also gonna do a back stitch. And since this is kind of coming in from the opposite direction, I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that is secure. So I'm going to add a pin there. And when I get closer, I'm going to reach in and grab my elastic from the top edge. Lastly, I'm going to come back over here and go ahead and close it up. so that's the first step. So now I'm gonna go ahead and flip this to the right side. And when you flip it around, you're gonna have a nice pocket on the back. And you could press it at this point to get it nice and flat. I'm not gonna press this time, but you might wanna press it just to keep everything nice and clean and flat. You also wanna make sure that your elastic is pulled all the way out here like that. And you also wanna make sure that when you are starting to do your pleats, you wanna make sure that this is pushed in so it's not kind of messy over here. Okay. All right, I'm just gonna move around some lighting so that you guys can see a little bit better. All right, maybe that's better. No, that's maybe better. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, guys. Okay, so now I'm going to add a pleat. So what I want to do is I want to actually fold this in half. And I find this to be the best way for pleating because you can get a more of an accurate like pleat. So you're going to pinch it in half and then you're going to do your 3/8 pleat, or you can do 1/2 inch. I think I usually do about 3/8. So that's my first pleat. One here, and then when you open it up, you can actually just push that to either side. I'm gonna go ahead and push it down and pin it that way. All right, and then I need to do a pleat here and a pleat here. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to find the center point of this area. So while I'm doing this, I do want to talk about our distribution. So as I mentioned, we're going to be working with Alter. Chloe will go ahead and put their Instagram on the chat. It's Alter Official is their Instagram, and from there you can click on to their website. And when you go to their website, you're going to click on the Mask Initiative. So they are helping distribute masks from seamstresses all over the city. They have a pattern guide on there, which is like the original mask that we made. That's actually the one that they have on their website, and you can also do ties. They have, I think, a couple of options on there. However, they have been excellent to work with because they are going to be helping distribute based on the bins that are located all over the city and also in Brooklyn. In addition, they are giving fabric for free donations so that you can make masks and all the elastic and any other notions that you would need to make these. They are supplying those things for free through donations. So they're an excellent resource for us. Like I said, that's called AlterNew, and they have been amazing. I'm working with them. I'm actually helping wash and pre-wash all of the fabric right now. So I have hundreds of yards I'm washing just to get the pre-washing done so that it doesn't shrink. And then I'm going to try to make some masks too. I think the minimum donation is 25 masks each. So in addition, you can always just go on our website and contact a hospital of choice. We have every hospital that we are working with directly on there and their contact information. But like I said, AlterNew, they're hooking it up. They're giving free fabric, free supplies. They were also super fast. When I told them I wanted to get involved, I had the fabric here the evening. I had my phone away from me, and the next morning my doorman was like, your fabric is down here waiting for you. So so they're a great resource right now, and they're helping a lot of people. So follow them and also sign up on their website. All right, so this is the next variation. So I have all my pleats in place. I'm gonna go ahead and sew it. I'm gonna just start up here. I'm gonna do my 1/4 inch. take out my pins as I get to them. You want to make sure, since I did not iron this, you want to make sure that your edges are all pulled out. I'm just going to do that really quick by hand. And one thing that I noticed that can be tricky is if you're trying to do the pleats the opposite direction, it can be a little bit hard to do. So what I'm gonna do is flip it around and do the pleats from the opposite side, so they're going down. All right. And then I usually stitch one more time all the way around to secure everything in place. But what I want to do first, as you can see, I've actually stitched down here in the sides, but I have not stitched up here. And the reason for that is because I'm going to show you guys how to add the pipe cleaner on the inside. So I'm actually going to go to the back where I have my opening for the filter. All right. So here's my opening for the filter in the back, and it's nice and secure. It still has the pleat there, and then you can open it up like that. So I'm just gonna take my pipe cleaner now, and I'm going to actually put it on the inside up along the edge here. So I'm just gonna cut this. I've heard the recommendation of 6 inches, but I'm just gonna cut it right around here. So, all right, so I'm just gonna come up here, and you can actually use your hand on the inside to push the pipe cleaner right into the seam here. I usually don't go in the middle of the seam, I go on one of the other sides of the seam, and you just wanna make sure it's nice and like even as well. So I'm trying to make sure that the pipe cleaner is in an even position so that it's like centered. You can just do that the best that you can. It is a little tricky. All right, that seems about right. So I'm gonna just use, and you can kind of see inside here. I'm just kind of pushing it right along here. Oops. Okay. Also, if you are watching and you need masks, please feel free to email us. If your organization or hospital needs masks, email us or email AlterNew. They can get you guys signed up. Like I said, you can register on their website as well. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start this area. So I'm just going to be creating a little box. So I have my pipe cleaner starting right here. So I'm going to do a back stitch, and then I'm gonna pivot and create a box for this to go into. So 1 second. Okay, pivot. And then you can feel the pipe cleaner, and I'm going to pivot here and forward and back stitch. So that's for that. All right, so now I have this mask made. It has an opening for the filter. All you would do is cut a little filter. I'm gonna just take this one and show you guys. You can just use like a coffee filter. You can cut the filter like this, and this one's a little bit big for it. So if you have a coffee filter, you can just cut it down to size, and then you can just slip it right in here. And like I said, obviously you want to make sure that if you are using a filter, you're taking it out, you know, before you wash it. All right, so there's that. Okay, and then all right, so that's the back and the front, and I have a pipe cleaner up here. and I've got my filter inside as well. So that's the second variation. And you can also use the drawstring again, or you can create your own binding for that. So that's the next option. All right, and then I just want to talk about really quickly if you're making this for a child. So a child size is going to be 7.5 by 5 inches. So I have like a little one here. I have just my regular blue material for the front, and I have a white fabric on the back here. So this one, like I said, 7.5 by 5 inches, and I would suggest 6 inches, between 6 and maybe 5.5 to 6 inches for the elastic. But if you're not sure, the best option is to do the drawstring through. And so you could extend this the amount that you would need to create a casing. All right, last thing here is what to do if you do not know how to sew. This video was not helpful to you and you really need a mask. So one of the things that the CDC has recommended is using a bandana. Let's say you want something a little bit more snug to your face. You can use a t-shirt. So I'm gonna just show you, and I'm gonna be cutting that out as well. I have one that I've already made here, but I just kind of want to show you how to know you've done it right, how to kind of get the right size, and what you can do. So let me go ahead and show you that. So give me 1 second. Okay. All right, I'm just gonna use this table here. And all right, I'm using a New York Sewing Center shirt. It's always been a little too long on me, so now's my chance to alter it and also make a mask out of it. So here we go. All right, so the first thing you're going to measure is 6.5 to 7 inches up from the bottom edge. So I'm just gonna do 7 inches here. Sorry guys, that was really loud. All right, 7 inches here. So that's the first step. And my t-shirt has like no seam on the side, so you kind of want to look for one that doesn't have any seams on the side. That's helpful. And now I'm just going to go ahead and cut this right along the edge here. I also recommend doing possibly 2 layers of this because one layer just really isn't thick enough. So you can add 1 more here and do 2. This is definitely wouldn't be a crop top if that was the case. It would be definitely much longer or shorter. So I think I'm gonna just do 1 layer for now. Okay, and then what you can measure is from the edge here. We're gonna measure over 6 or 7 inches. 7 inches for a guy, 6 inches for a woman. I'm just gonna go ahead and use these 7 inches for this one for the demo. All right, and then I'm going to make little straps. So those are gonna be 1.5 inches wide. I'm just gonna draw 1.5 inches wide, and I'll show you guys this a little bit better image. I'm not sure if you can see it with the lighting. So 1.5 inches here, like that. All right, so now I'm going to cut into the fabric. All right, so this is what your t-shirt would then look like. All right, and like I said, I would do 2 layers. That way when you have it, you have 2 layers of it. And then you have these two strips here that have not been cut because it's the opposite side. So you need to cut through those right at the fold. All right, and I will just show you how that looks. So like I said, you want 2 layers of this. It actually wraps past your ear so that it doesn't have any openings on the side because it will gape open if it does. So you would just go. And it actually does fit really well, and you can actually create some little folds as well, and you can obviously loosen it up a little bit if it's too tight, but it is a really, really helpful resource if you do not have a bandana, and more than likely everybody has a t-shirt at home, so that can be an option for somebody that doesn't know how to sew. All right, I think I've answered all of the questions, but let me just take a look at my notes here. Does anybody have any questions before we say goodbye? You're welcome. Thank you guys for joining in. Like I said, thank you so much for doing this. You know, it is a very, very hard time for everybody right now, but the one thing that I can say is we're all helping each other. We're all coming in this together, and thanks to all of you, you are helping a ton of people that don't have resources like this. We're helping people in the hospitals, all of these people on the front line. So I just, you know, I don't even need to know how many masks have gone out or anything like that. I just know that we are helping. You know, there was one hospital that I reached out to and they were like, you know what, we already have enough masks. So thank you so much. And that's just such a huge feeling of achievement, knowing that we've helped a hospital secure the amount of masks that they need right now. And you guys are killing it. So thank you so much. This has been awesome for me too, because I miss teaching a group so much. I'm going to be doing weekly videos or bi-weekly videos of just some tutorials on Instagram Live. And we're also doing virtual classes. Our schedule's up now on our website under virtual classes. They're going to be a lot like this, but through Zoom. And we're also doing FaceTime private lessons right now. So if you're a little hesitant to book a private lesson, I can assure you that it's a lot better than what you think when you're learning virtually. It's pretty much like what we did today, except we would be corresponding back and forth so that you'd be able to ask questions along the way. All right, I love you guys. Thank you so much, and hope you guys have a great rest of your night.